We talking under the tree. We talking under the tree. Let's talk under the tree. Let's talk under the tree. We talking under the tree. We talking under the tree. Let's talk under the tree. Let's talk under the tree. Welcome to the show. Appreciate that you came. Mr. Palmer T. Smalls, ain't a damn thing changed. We talking under the tree. Yeah, we got them hot topics from Carolina to Duval. That's how we rock it on prime time. Check out the podcast. It's online. Hit us up. We got a platform. You gon' shine. It was all a dream. We here now. Let me hear you say it loud. We talking under the tree. We talking under the tree. We talking under the tree. Let's talk.
T. Smalls, what it do? What it do?
What's going on? The weatherman, how you doing, sir?
Everything's good in the neighborhood. I am the weatherman, Mr. Van Brown in the house. T. Smalls, show him some love.
Man, we talking under the tree.
With a name like that, I think he's a karate expert. They say he's an author, with that name Van Brown. What you think, Smalls?
Hey man, that sounds like an action movie right there. That's an action movie name, dog.
Right. I think not karate, jiu-jitsu.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's that fancy karate.
Yeah, he could be the second coming, man. For real, I'm telling you, man. Van Brown, the second coming.
That's right. T. Smalls, show him some love.
Yo, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We got Van Brown under the tree with us tonight. It's gonna be a good one, y'all.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Amen. All right. Let's get cracking with everything. I read your bio slightly, but we don't need a bio from you because you're well accomplished. Most people that come on here, we always have to ask them, this question right here. But with you, we don't have to get a formal introduction. We don't have to ask you this right here because we already know. We're going to let the world know that this does not pertain to you because we don't have to ask you this question.
Who is you?
Right. This is a little something to break the monotony. We don't have to ask him, Smalls, who is you? Give him a live version of that before we get going. There you go.
Give him a round of applause.
There you
Guess
go.
what? Who is you?
All right. Mr. Brown, to be an author, some folks may say you have to have a third eye. Do you have that third eye? You might see things that we can't see.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, a third eye, I don't know about a third eye, but I know about there's something internal that's brewing that is uniquely yours, that no one else has that perspective. And then you layer that with your combination of your experience and the wisdom, and then you turn it into this beautiful piece of art that you give to humanity. So maybe that's the way it is.
Right. Do you like ride around and you think of these thoughts in your brain and you get to writing and you have to pull over to the side of the road and say, oh, that's a thought right there. Let me add this on a piece of paper.
Yeah, there have been many occasions that I've had a thought while driving, and what I normally would do is I have this navigational system where I just text. I could just press a button and then I'll just text it to myself. So I'll just speak. So I'll just touch the button and then speak. So I'll have it recorded there, and then that's usually the way I'll do it. And it's so funny how it comes in such weird moments. You could be out with a friend, and then because of something the friend said or someone introducing themselves to you, it automatically shifts into a chapter. So you're always thinking like that. So it's beautiful. Yeah.
All right. T. Smalls, you do music. So when you're writing, do you feel the same thing that Mr. Van Brown is experiencing from what you do when you driving? Yeah.
It's like that, man. You always gonna have something that you're thinking about when you write, and
Right.
music is kind of like the same thing as writing a book or whatever. You know what I'm saying? A little bit different, slightly different, but it's the same concept. And
Right.
I got a voice recorder for me. Like when I find something in my head, I got to record it on my voice recorder, and I come back to it probably hours later. And then I try to find something to put it to. But yeah, I can relate to that, man. You gotta catch it while it's hot.
Yeah, because I've been mad at myself. There are times where, like 4 a.m. in the morning, I'll have this deep thought, and then I'm saying, I'm so tired. I'm saying, I'm not gonna record. I'll just wake up in the morning and write it down. I woke up in the morning, I can't remember a single word. I'm so heated with myself because I didn't discipline myself enough. So now, from now on, I say, okay, I'm just gonna sacrifice the sleep and make sure I get it out the way.
Oh, okay. We hear that Bahamian accent, so you were born and raised there, right?
Yes, I was born in the Bahamas. I came here in 2000, so been living here for like 22 years and change. Yeah.
Hey, Smalls, you think he can swim his butt off because it's just water down there? What you
Yeah,
think?
man, hey, they can swim. They got the best count. Hey, and
Oh, yeah.
that's the native homeland of Kimbo Slice, man. R.I.P.
Yeah. You can't consider yourself Bahamian if you don't know how to swim. You have to do that. You have to eat something.
You are correct. Correct.
Right.
Yes, you have to know those things.
So being an author, when did you kind of figure out that you had the niche to do this? When did you say, okay, hey, I got something here?
It's such a great question because I never intended on being an author. I thought my father was a great football player locally in the Bahamas, and every year they would win the championship. He was a defenseman. And I naturally followed in my father's footstep, and I was a wide receiver. I was pretty good. I was really good at basketball. I thought sports was going to be my vehicle, but those things, after getting hit, coming across the middle, getting hit a few times, I said, okay, this is not for me. but but what happened was, growing up, I saw my father and mother having this distant relationship, and so he was great at protecting and providing, but I noticed that there was a misconnection with him and my mother. And so I mirrored the way he showed up in his relationship. I mirrored that. And I remember going through relationships and it not working out and being devastated by it not working out. I didn't plan to do this. After the fourth relationship that was so devastating to me, and she left with no answers. You know how it is.
Yes.
You're sitting outside her house trying to catch her when she go in because you need some answers. And so after I couldn't get any answers, I went into the library and I read every single book I could find on love and relationships because I wanted to understand what I did wrong. And in the midst of that, the ministry was born. I started, and because I was healed through books, I said, man, I never thought that this was possible. All of these books I've read and answered some questions that I needed answers to. And then all of a sudden, I felt led to write my own book on my own history and all of the things that I grew up. And how did I get to that point where I needed answers from someone else who was unwilling to give it to me? And I realized that you can give to yourself something that someone is unwilling to give. And so then I put this all in a beautiful package because a lot of times in life we're held hostage by the other person. And life was never meant to be lived that way. Every single answer you will ever want, you could give it to yourself.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Wow.
Do you
Yeah.
think that back in your mom and dad's era was like a thing to not show emotion from their era towards each other?
Yes, because yes, it definitely was because, and also it was passed on. When I was doing the research of the book, that's the way her mother was. That's the way his father was, and so they grew up in a culture where their love language was in their doings, and so, but I had to understand that just because that's the way they did it, it doesn't mean that it has to continue with me. There are certain things that you take, that, and then there are certain things you add on because each generation is supposed to be better than the latter because he gave me this rich work ethic and protection and providing and all those things I could do in my sleep. Now it is my time to add those things on to give to my son so he could be more prepared to be equipped to be a whole person in life, than rather than just having some of the components.
Right. Smalls, we've kind of, in past podcasts that we did talked about this topic. It's called the generational, you know what.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and add on the generational, start with a C on the end.
Called a generational curse, man.
Right.
You know, we sort of kind of pass these things down without even knowing, because
Yes.
just like you say, with whatever they was accustomed to doing while you was growing up, they had people, you know, relatives that came before them that did the same thing. In our generation, it's a lot different because, you know, right now, today in 2022, man, fathers are showing more affection towards their children, you know, rather sons, daughter. You know, so it's good that you found a way to kind of say, you know what, I can do all the things that I was already taught already, but now it's
Right.
time to do things that I didn't grow up with, that I can pass on to my children, my son, my daughter, you know, because with my son, I tell my son, when I talk to him on the phone, I tell him I love him all the time. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it at first it used to feel kind of weird at first.
Mm-hmm.
It became a normal thing. You know, even my mother, hey, I love you. You know, my dad, you know, stepdad, you know what I'm saying? Hey, man, I love you, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's good that you found a way to kind of channel that energy, man, to kind of, you know, share it with your family.
Yeah, because we don't know the things that stop people's mind. Like my father passed away without me saying it, simply because every time as I was living here, I was getting more conscious and aware of the errors we were making.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told my mom, and the first time I told my mom I loved her, she hung up the phone on me. because
It's weird.
even though she loved it, it was so uncomfortable for her.
Right.
And I kept saying it. But my father, anytime he saw that I was starting to get mushy, he would say, "Oh, let me give the phone to your mother." He didn't want nothing to do with it.
Right.
He wanted love, but he didn't know how to receive it because it's so uncomfortable. So I'm glad that now I'm humbly able to say that the love language is expressed in all of the arenas in our family, because my mom now, she says it effortlessly, and it's just not a matter of saying it. We want to make sure that nothing is left unsaid, you know.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
You see too many times you go to a funeral, I wish I had more time. I was like, well, what did you do with the time that you had?
Right.
You know, so we have to be extremely intentional. I asked my mother questions I never thought I would be asking her, all about childhood and everything. Because when I was doing the research for this book, I was astonished of all the things that she'd been through. And I realized that her childhood was similar to mine. And so it even developed a deeper bond. So we have to ask the questions now so we won't cry about not doing it later.
Right. Let me give you guys this example. Back in those days with your mom and dad, T Smalls, it might, be related to you also. A lot of parents back then showed love through a plate of food.
Yes.
And that's their way of saying I love you when they fix you something to eat.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I love
Yes,
it because, you know, you able to take you a shower, you able to eat some food, you know,
Right.
you got lights to see what you're doing, your homework and stuff like that. You're right. That's
Right.
the way it was, man. That's the way it was. And I'm glad that in this day and time that especially we as men, we are changing that and not
Yeah.
just being like how our fathers was back when we was younger. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because young men and women, young little girls are so bombarded by so many images that destroy their self-esteem. So you giving that unconsumed, just one-on-one time with them and just expressing to them how much you love them, it does tremendous amount of things for their self-esteem, and it causes them to grow up to be a more giving adult, versus we just do it to the doing. So the person have to assume Well, I guess my father loved me. He never really said it, but I guess he does. He feeds me and he clothes me. But you could do all those things. You know, prison inmates are fed and clothed. It doesn't mean that the correction officers love them. You know?
Right.
So,
Hey, I
so
like that. That's good.
we got to
Right.
make sure that it's really felt. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
To confirm what y'all said, T Smalls, we talked about this maybe a year ago. It was a white guy, a good friend of mine. His dad passed away, I'm going to say 2 years ago. Same
Mhm.
topic, same topic what we're talking about. He said he really grew up in complete silence because his dad didn't show any emotions and things like that.
Wow.
So when his dad passed away, you know, they showed a viewing and everything. He said his dad, who he was raised with in the same house, who was like a complete stranger at the
Mm.
funeral. He said this man he never knew in his own father. Same type of thing you were talking about your dad.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing, and I that's why I love what you men. We need more men doing like what you guys are doing, because very seldom we see men expressing themselves. You look at all of the majority of the talk shows; they're all women driven, and that's great for them. They have a place where they could see themselves and be empowered and inspired. But what about the men? So I love the fact that you guys are really communicating the thoughts and everything that's on your mind, because little boys are watching you guys, young men are watching you and say, wow, I love that thought. I love what he said about this. You don't know who you're inspiring simply because we have too many men who just sit in silence and don't communicate the and this is the reason why so many men commit suicide in silence, because nothing we see our brother struggling with certain things, instead of bombarding him and say, hey, what's going on, talk to me. We don't do that. The minute he says he's cool, we say, okay, let me know if you need anything.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Move
if
on to
I'm
the
your
next.
friend, I need to investigate. You know?
Yeah. Yes. In the South, a lot of people grew up shut your mouth unless you're spoken to. That went on
Yeah.
for years. I think it's changed
Yeah.
a little bit now. You don't even
Mhm.
talk in the house. Smalls, I'm sure you heard of that.
Oh yeah, always. You know, speak when until you don't speak until you spoken to. Or,
Right.
or if you see somebody, hey, where your manners at? Hey, and say hello, and the next thing you know, you go on about your business or whatever. You know, it's grown folks talking, and that would be it. It'd be the children, mother and father, and then other outside of that, it's nothing else. That's it.
But
Yes.
isn't that crazy? Isn't that, here it is? We came to this earth packaged with a deep, rich gift to give. But from the very beginning, they're dimming our lights. They're saying, be seen but not heard. And
Right.
so, why do you think so many men and women think that they don't have anything to offer? From a little child, you kill that inside of them rather
Right.
than say,
Yes.
I want to hear what you have to say. Tell me your thoughts. What's on your heart? What is
Right.
it that you think that you're supposed to give to us? So I love the fact that more men, and particularly men that look like you, are expressing themselves, because you're giving a different outlook than what we had previously. And it's going to give us such a rich backdrop in order for our men to flourish, because now more than ever, men are suffering in silence and you will never know.
Yes. Yes. Right. PTSD is a silent killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Right.
Right.
It is.
All of a sudden you hear, oh, he killed himself, or he did this to his family, or and you just said it came out of nowhere. No, it didn't come out of nowhere. This has been brewing for years and decades.
Right.
No one to talk to, no one. And he was crying for help, but he cried for help in different ways that were not obvious to other men, because we attribute it to just being men.
Right.
Oh,
Yes.
and so, no, guys, if this is your friend, let's investigate. Let's do this. Let's do that.
And when men are raised in silence, most of them get grown and move away. So they don't
Yeah,
even know how to communicate with their own parents because that's all they know. Shut up.
right.
You
Mhm.
know?
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
right. That's great.
Everything about us, we are genetically designed to communicate. And
Yeah.
when we cease to do that, why do you think there's so many schools are being shot up? And then when you sift through the rubble of the person background, or he was ostracized, nobody talked to him, he was bullied, he was this. Why are these always 9 times out of 10 the signs where this guy decides to do this because of what he experienced? It's not an excuse, but at the same time, we have to go after these men who feel ostracized and feel all alone, or society is doing a huge disservice. We're saying that we love and we need to protect, but you have to be able to go before the bullets and say, let me talk to this young man so he won't end up doing that.
And I'm glad that you know, writing this information to help others, because we need it very bad. I mean, that you can speak, it's okay to talk, you know.
Right.
And I'm sure, do you actually counsel individuals?
Yes, I do. I do families, individuals, marital counseling. I even do corporate counseling. You'll be amazed to know in the workplace, here it is, these are people with degrees and they don't know how to communicate with each other, you know? And so I'll come in, and sometimes I'll come in under, under disguise. It mean in disguise, meaning they don't know who I am. So
Oh, wow.
I'm pretending to be a client, and I'm just watching everyone interact, not knowing that, okay, I'm just observing what they are in their natural work habits and doings. And I'm shocked that these people are getting paid all this money and with these degrees, and we fail to learn how to communicate to each other. So then we sit down now, and I never highlight or expose anyone. I said, this is what I observed. And I'll pinpoint what I observe, and then I'll show areas how we correct it. What is the attitude coming in? And so people are astonished that, but what should be common sense is really not. And so that's the reason why I'm so excited to be able to go into these arenas and express the true nature of really two people having a conversation. Think about it. We always talk about, police brutality and all of this stuff and all of the different things, whether it's Democrat versus Republicans. But what it comes down to is two people failing to communicate. Two people failing to communicate. Because I have my thought on this matter, and I have my thought, we can't cease to communicate and have a civil conversation. Right. You are automatically public enemy number one because you think this way. And what we fail to realize, we are more alike than we are different.
Oh,
that's
man. I say that all the time.
But it is our ignorance, and it's our history, and this violent thing that I gotta protect what's mine, that prevents us from being human in that moment. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at the issues that happened with relations to. It's just two individuals. At the end of the day, they want to get home to their families,
right?
But for some reason, one doesn't get there.
Right.
Failure to communicate, ego and pride, fear stepping in. All of these things are preventing us from being our true self. And when we have the opportunity, I was blessed to be in a room actually where I actually was sent to just 1 hour to speak to a bunch of sheriffs. And here it is. I'm the only black guy in the room, right? And I loved it. Man, I was eating it up. And, I loved it because they were assuming one thing. After this conversation, these people are my best friends to this day.
Wow.
To this day, right now, I could call upon them. They got me out of several tickets. To this day, right now, and this is like maybe 8 years ago I had this conversation. But to this day, right now, they're my really good friend. So it just shows you, if there is a healthy place where we could have a conversation, and both of us are willing to engage and to be fair, man, there's nothing that can't happen. So I am my heart weeps for these young men who are behind bars. Even the men, think about it, the men who are, a fatherless situation. We all know the number one issue that is facing this country is a fatherlessness. Because the men were never affirmed, they went out into the world and they merged with young men who were sort of like father mentors. But it just happened that these men were into violence and gangs and etc. But to them, that's family because they weren't affirmed. Same thing with young women. They're merging lives with young men who don't have a future. But he winked at her and said, I love you. But the father never said, I loved you. So of course I'm going to go to this guy and listen to everything he says and do what he's telling me to do because you never showed me no attention, no affection. And so now our young men and women are under the hands and control of people who never should have had authority simply because the father should have been present. And that's one of the things I really, really emphasize in all of my conversations. Right now, I'm doing a thing called Launching Pad, a 4-course week at Revelation Church, where I'm teaching couples how to prepare for marriage. But the majority of the conversation when I talk to young men is about fatherhood. And I asked the women, I said, yes, you guys are looking for this romantic guy, this 6'2", chisel abs and all of this stuff. Cool, that's great. But the number one question you should have, is the characteristics in this man something that would I want expressed in my little boy? And if that is the case, then yes, you should pursue it. See, I caused them to think beyond themselves.
Right.
Do you want this character trait in your little boy? And then I asked the men, do you want this character trait in your daughter? Because we're supposed to marry the future that we want. Mm-hmm. It's not to say that there's no such thing as a finished human being, but we got to encourage each other to the better side of ourselves. We can't just marry. Look at how many young, successful men who are marrying the hourglass figure and then it explodes on them. Kanye West is one of them.
Exploded. I like that.
Kanye West even blamed P. Diddy. He just did it a BET.
Yes, he did.
That he even influenced my marriage choices. Said, man, Puff, I forgive you for that one. You see?
Yeah, that's true.
He didn't think beyond the hourglass figure. Now he's fighting with this woman just to keep his kids off social media when her whole life is built on social media. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I weep for these young men because I said, they have it all, but inside they're suffering. Why? Because they didn't foresee this happening. And there's nothing they could do to change it. But what do you think about the other men? At least he has the comfort of the millions to shield some of the blow. Oh, I could fly to go see her and do this and do whatever I want. At least there's some sort of comfort. Imagine the young men who merge lives with women who now are holding the kid as hostage and doing the most disrespectful thing simply because the guy didn't see it all the way through, or after everything happened, he realized that I can't build upon this house. And women too. Women are realizing because of ignorance, both people are not invested anymore simply because they realize this is not where it's at. And now now the child is going to pay the price for your ignorance and your decision. So I always tell them, choose a woman that you would want your daughter to mirror that same characteristic. Choose a man that you would want your son to have those same characteristics, and you will always make a good choice.
Man.
Let me ask you guys this in your opinion. I'll start with Mr. Van Brown. Do you think a woman that was not raised with their father can affect them in life later on down the line as they get older?
You said, repeat that question for me one more time, please.
Do you think women who were not raised with their father, can it affect them, in life later on down the line as they get older?
Yeah. Yes, it affects them all day long. You see, listen to me. It is so crazy when I walk into a setting, because I usually do seminars and a bunch of women there. What is so scary, I could see the women without them speaking. I could see the women that didn't have a father figure. I could automatically tell there's something about their confidence. There's something about the way they carry themselves. There's something about the way they show up in the world. Because think about it. When she didn't have a father, remember the father is the example on how to choose effectively.
Right.
He is the example on how to receive. So the way the father takes care of the daughter is mirroring to her, this is how you should receive the person that is coming in after you. But not only that, now he was never there. Now she goes out in the world and experiment because she never saw a father.
Mhm.
So now she chooses incorrectly. So she is abused twice because she didn't have the father there and then she chose incorrectly. But that's not the end of it. Because she chose incorrectly, now there's traumas that are built upon this ignorant man that never should have been there. Now, every decision she make now is from a traumatic experience and not from the truth of who she is. So that's why women keep making the wrong decisions. Their traumas are speaking for them. Even now when they have children, I can't stand you. You look just like your father.
Yeah.
Now the child is in jeopardy.
Yep.
Right.
This thing
Hey,
is deep,
that's
man.
that's
If,
the case all the time. I tell you
if
that.
men only know how deep this is, they'll be so selective in who they choose to have relations with.
Man,
Man.
This is your future child. You don't want to just give them to anyone.
Yep.
Trust me, I know the temptation. There's beautiful women everywhere. Trust me, I know. But are you willing to suffer the consequences of your decision?
man.
You like the decision, but are you willing to suffer the consequences of your decision? This woman never said one kind word to you when you guys were dating, but you stayed simply because she was so visually stimulating and the sex was good and everything was great. And you stayed, you endured the disrespect. The physical was good. Years later, the novelty is worn off. Now you have a child with her. She
Hey.
show up time she doesn't. She doesn't know how to raise a child because her mother never showed her what a true mother looked like, what a true wife looked like. So she's like a correctional officer. She feeds the child and clothing, but there's no motherly instincts because the world told her all she had to do was just have the hourglass.
Ooh. We were just talking about this last night, Smalls. We operate on emotions and
Yeah.
feelings.
That's it.
Yep, we were just talking about that. We make decisions more based on emotions versus what we need to be thinking about, looking past. Hey, this is the person you're gonna be wanting to be with for the future or whatever.
Yeah.
You got to look further than that, man. And nowadays, like me and the weatherman was talking about, when you got certain guys, ladies, men, or whatever that make those decisions, the person who when they first interact with, they get upset because they feel like, well, what do I have? What don't I have that anybody else should have or whatever?
Right.
You don't want to hurt their feelings because what you was just talking about. They looking a little bit further. They're not just looking at the nice body or oh, you got a beautiful smile and you drive a nice car type deal. They looking a little bit further. They looking at, nah, I don't think I
Right.
want this person for the near future.
Right. At some point after you saw her naked for the 40th time, sometime the novelty is gonna wear off.
Yeah, like they say,
So,
the thrill is gone.
so what is going to keep you? Remember, the reason why you should want a wife is because she is the finisher of your purpose.
Right.
She gets to come and complete things. Remember, You tell your wife your dreams, everything that you feel that you're supposed to do, whether it's the business, whether it's the ministry, whatever it is. And because she is so close in proximity to you, she is that secret weapon that is either going to make that a success or a complete failure. But if you marry someone who
Yes.
just looks good in bed, but she has no business skills, no sense of the future, no sense of how to manage money, no sense on how to encourage you.
Right.
The greatest thing a woman could ever do is encourage her man. But if all she ever does is say, man, you'll be this and you'll be that, you just brought home a nightmare. You know?
Man, I hope y'all listen to this, man. This is some good stuff right here, man.
You just brought home a nightmare. But what killed you is because you met her in the club and all you saw was that tight silhouette with the hourglass figure.
Right.
And I can tell you, listen to me, I will never say it, but publicly, I counsel a lot of athletes. And I can tell you there's so many athletes. The wife that they have right now, they met her in the strip club and brought her home, and she never left. She never left. She became the wife. So here it is. You've brought someone home because of a silhouette. And because of how good the sex was, she just stayed. And now, all of a sudden, you're wondering why the kids are out of control. She has no motherly instincts.
Oh, wow.
She don't know how to manage millions. Man, this thing is deep, man. And I wish that before they get their contract, they have to go to a program where they teach them about the process and the principles of life, how to choose people effectively according to where you're going. Because this is why domestic violence happens, because you married someone who was never willing to listen to you. And because of your ego and pride and your millions, you think everyone was supposed to conform to what you're saying. You never learned how to communicate. She doesn't know how to receive communication. Now all you're going to do is clash.
Right.
There's no love there. It's just lust. You said the first time I met her, I knew she was the one. That wasn't love. It was just lust. And once the novelty worn off, the real person emerged.
We just said this last night.
Man, I mean, everything he talking about, man, is right on the money, man. I mean, we have to stop making decisions based on emotion, man. I mean, we are emotional beings, man.
Yeah.
Us as a people, you know what I'm saying? And if we can just channel our emotions somewhere else or just talk about the emotion, just like you say, communication, because of the communication part, that's where the drop off is at. You know what I mean? So you're not communicating, and now you feel like, you know, this person that comes into your life, oh, that's the one because your emotion told you so. But then it goes 6 months down the line after your emotions done wore off.
Right. Everyone in your family told her, no, please don't do this.
Yep.
Everyone in your family saw it except you.
And you know what? Yeah. This is another thing I want to add to it. You get so caught up in that emotion till you make your family suffer with you because your family was trying to tell you, look, man, I don't think this is the right deal or whatever. But guess what? They had to accept the fact that you wanted to do what you had to do. And for that reason, your family suffers with you.
Yes. And so, and that's the thing. Here it is now because of your decision.
I get it.
The whole family is suffering. Now there's resources that should have been going towards generational wealth. It's now going towards bailing you out and coming to see you in prison and coming to do this and taking care of the child now that you can't raise. All of these ignorant decisions are now thrust upon the family because you didn't take the time to listen and educate yourself on how to effectively live with someone. This is what I teach people. Loving someone is easy. Living with someone is something completely different. It's easy to love somebody, but to live with them is a whole nother process.
Oh
And
yeah.
so that's what people fail to understand.
Hey, T Smalls, I think he just preached the gospel.
Hey, look, the gospel. You talk about the Holy Grail right there, man. That's the Holy Grail. You know, he is. You could tell he's well diverse in this subject, man. Hey man, I'm very like I'm excited, man. I'm excited, man. Let everybody know about the book, man.
Yes.
Thank you so much. The book is called Love Symptoms, and is the subtitle is Diagnosing and Curing the Common Illnesses in Love and Relationship. There's a lot of things we don't know about love, and that's why I'm happy that I went through all of those negative experiences in order to lay it all out in a book and show you how not to make those decisions. So the book is on Amazon right now, Amazon.com, and it's nothing but 5 stars. Everyone is saying great things about it. You could also go to my website, vanbrown.com, if you want to book a session. Also, you could get the book there also. But I'm just excited to do. I don't want anyone to suffer unnecessarily. That is my purpose. My purpose is to educate you and enlighten you so skillfully in the topic of love and relationship to the point where now you can make a sober, keyword, a sober decision about love, and not because you're lured away by the silhouette or the 6'2" chisel abs frame. We got to get beyond the physical, and we got to make sure that we're choosing according to the future and not the temporary now.
Most definitely. You have a pretty hot topic. How many interviews do you really do? Because this is a fire discussion right here.
I'm sorry, say that one more time, please.
We're talking about a fire discussion, and the topic that that you brought forward is pretty interesting that men and women need to talk about. How many interviews do you really do a month? I'm sure you get a lot of requests.
Oh man, it's like sometimes my wife has to remind me, oh, and it's so much. I would say I have the counseling session, so I'll probably do like maybe 7 to 6 a day, and then on top of that, I'll probably have like 2 or 3 interviews per day, not on the weekend. So it's a lot, and I'm ready for it because I know that I don't get tired because I know that this is the thing I was sent here to do, and so I will forever be communicating and expressing the true nature and how we're supposed to communicate in order for people to not fall into the pitfalls like I did.
Wow, that's a lot of interviews, Smalls, man.
It is, man. To whom much is given, much is required. You know what I mean? That's how it goes.
But I'm sure you guys are doing a ton of interviews yourself. How often do you?
Oh God, yes. Yeah, we are.
So, but it's not work. See, when this is the thing you're meant to do, it's not work. So you guys are, and I love the fact that you are naturally yourself. I could tell that you guys are naturally yourself. You're not trying to be anybody else. You're communicating exactly the way you were built, and that's what's going to give other young men to have the freedom to be themselves. And I'm really excited for you guys and everything that's happening. And I hope this explodes to the masses. And there's a ton of generational wealth coming, you guys, because you're really doing some deep work. And I hope people receive it.
Oh yeah, man. It's funny you say that because a lot of people, well, they know and may not know. We don't do no script, man. And we the first thing we want to do is we want to get people comfortable in the show to let them know that, look, you can be yourself. We have people that come on here and they've been a little tense. They might have been a little nervous. And we're like, hey, look, by 5 minutes into the show, you're going to be ready to conversate. Trust us. That's where we get our authentic personalities from, being just authentic, talking to the people, because we want to treat people like how we want to be treated. You know what I'm saying?
That's good. That's real good.
I'm gonna piggyback. This is the last thing I have. Me and Smalls talked about this last night. We didn't do it with you, but he knows when I'm just shooting the breeze and made up something from scratch that don't even pertain to the guests, and he fill it in. I just made up something that ain't even true, but he already know when I'm doing it. That goes with chemistry.
That's
He didn't
good.
do it with you,
That's
right?
good.
Yeah, he know, and I just told a white lie, I call it, and it ain't even true. But he already know that automatic.
Right. No, that's good. That's real good, man. I hope you guys. I don't know what the future of what you guys hope for, but I pray that this whole thing is televised and you're national syndicated, and so more eyeballs can get on it, because we need more men having healthy conversations.
Right.
Oh yeah,
We appreciate you, Smalls. What you got in closing before we get
man.
out?
All I got is, look, we got Van Brown. He's it's the second coming of Van Brown, and he got that good book for you called Love Symptoms. Y'all make sure y'all pick it up at Amazon, wherever. Look, this guy right here know exactly what he's talking about, man. Hey, y'all might want to book a session, man. Or go to vanbrown.com, man. You heard the man. Hey, check him out.
That's right.
Thank
We
you.
enjoyed you, Van Brown. Keep on keeping on. He reminds me of Idris Elba. Did I say that right? The
Yes,
accent?
yes. It's so funny that I get that a lot, and part of my thing, I am an actor also, so I know we're going to work together at some point, because we know a lot of similar people. But I'm actually, the book actually I'm turning into a script, so we're planning to shoot that next year. So I'll stay in touch with you guys, because I love what you guys are doing, and if there's any way I can help, please just let me know.
Okay, appreciate it. T Small, say a little prayer for the brother before we get out of here.
Oh man, I'm gonna send him off the right way. Thank you, God, for allowing Mr. Van Brown to share his thoughts. Keep him safe as he moves and travels in his endeavors. Allow him to touch people that come into his path. Allow him to educate as well, his ministry to people who have not yet come in contact with him. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
That's what I'm talking about. Anytime you're welcome, you got a home with the Let's Talk Under the Tree podcast at any time. I am the weatherman. Van Brown was in the house. T Smalls was in the house also. T Smalls.
God bless you guys.
One time for your mind. Go ahead and spin it, Smalls.
2 times for your soul.
Let's Talk Under the Tree podcast. We gone. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Kingpin Music.